Am I the jerk for trying to get answers for what I did wrong? Yesterday, my friend said we would FaceTime once she is back from Europe. This morning she sent a text and said we are not FaceTiming because that's too long from now, so I am just going to tell you what I wanted to tell you now. She then sends me a text saying we are not friends anymore. I wouldn't even call us friends because you never treated me as one. Somehow, this may backfire on me because you will not take responsibility for your actions. You both will probably laugh at this and not take it seriously. To me, this sounded like we've had this conversation before, which we hadn't. She then got mad at me for telling my other friend even though it was implied that she was breaking up with us both, and that I should tell him, and said that I wasn't supposed to. Flash forward a couple of hours later, she says, "I hope we can still be acquaintances, and I wish you the best. We have just grown apart." The key thing is that she left our group chat yesterday and added a random person's number, and we don't know who it is. We've asked and gotten no answer. Anyway, she tells my friend that we have just grown apart, and basically puts everything on me for a reason that I am unaware of. Now, the part about growing apart doesn't surprise me. We are now at separate colleges, and though we have tried to communicate with her, she hasn't communicated back. Both my friend and I were worried, so we would check in on her from time to time, and most of the time get no answer. The only thing I can think of why she did this would be one dumb thing that I still feel huge amounts of guilt for and have apologized numerous times for, and that she has forgiven me for multiple times. Unless she lied to me and it's not good, I don't know. It wasn't anything big, just me being impatient, stupid, scared, and having a panic attack to go through another J term at my college. She has told my friend that she doesn't think I can change, though I don't know how one thing can decide that. Now, my friend and I both have mental disabilities. I have reached out, but chances are she won't answer because she barely ever does. Also, I have asked numerous times in the lead up to this if we were still friends, and she said we are. So at this point, I don't know what to do. Wow, that's a tough situation. It seems like she decided to cut ties without giving you a clear reason, which isn't fair. The fact that she left the group chat and added a random number is pretty confusing too. Maybe it's best to give her some space for now and focus on maintaining a healthy friendship with your other friends. Am I the jerk for telling my partner that I don't want them to get a cat because I already have 2 cats? My girlfriend and I have been dating for 2 years and plan to move in together in a new city at the end of the year due to a work relocation. I have had 2 cats since we started dating, and they do sometimes get into small fights and require separate feeding, but otherwise they mostly coexist. I resolved that I only want 2 pets at a time, especially while renting, as most apartments have a 2-pet limit anyway. My girlfriend has had a pretty rough last 2 years with grief and loss in her family, and really wants a cat to help her while she's on her own, which I completely understand. Introducing a new cat into the mix when I already have one territorial cat who has drawn blood before on my other cat feels like a ticking time bomb and undue stress for our situation. For any cat owners who can empathize, just the thought of moving furniture, ripping tape off boxes, new smells, and then suddenly a new random cat is just about the perfect recipe for cat fights. The ideal situation for a new cat is that it should be introduced room by room, slowly, over weeks with all other things constant. This decision, while understandable for her mental health, is otherwise setting aside the well-being of us as a couple when we move in together, my cat's mental health, and my previously vocalized values of not owning more than 2 pets at once for monetary and stress reasons. I genuinely worry that if she moves forward with this, it's foreshadowing how bigger decisions may be made in the future when we have a disagreement, which is, she makes them anyways. We don't live together yet, but if we plan to live together at the end of the year, then we need to start operating like we are going to be, and not actively making decisions to complicate the situation more. I would like your advice on if I am being too heavy-handed about this and need to open up my mind a bit, or if I need to stick with what I feel are important values of mine. Why not just lend her one of your cats until you both move in together? It seems like a reasonable solution since your cats mostly coexist, and it might help her during this tough time. Her choice to get a new cat does seem impulsive, but it's understandable given her recent losses. If living together isn't an option right now, this could be a good compromise. Am I the jerk for not mentioning that my best friend roommate and I are not a couple? First, a little bit of backstory. I had a fling with a girl who got pregnant with twin boys. She told me that she didn't want them, but she also didn't want an abortion, so she was going to put them up for adoption. I convinced her to let me raise them by myself. They are now 6 years old. Chase has helped me with them for their entire lives, by his own choice. He was there for their birth and they now call him Papa. We did not encourage this. In fact, we discouraged it, but eventually gave up. They know that he is not their father and that they have a mother. After college, Chase, the boys, and I moved to another state and found jobs at the same company. Here is the issue. Apparently, for the past few years, our friends have thought that we are a couple. Neither Chase nor I had any idea about this. People at our workplace talk a lot with each other, so I guess word somehow spread that we are together, which we are not and never have been. He is my closest friend. We live together, and he is heavily involved in raising my sons, but we have never interacted in any romantic way in front of any of our friends, ever. We hug sometimes and that's it. We learned that everyone thought we were a couple when one of our friends, Bob, introduced Chase and me as boyfriends to someone. We thought that he was joking, and I told him afterward that that kind of joke wasn't funny. Bob asked what I meant, and I told him that I didn't like him joking about Chase and me being boyfriends. Bob was genuinely confused, so I said, just because two guys are good friends doesn't mean you should joke about them being a couple. Me saying this sort of shocked the friend group, and they thought I was joking at first. Chase and I both clarified that we aren't together and that we're both straight. So now, our friend group is mad at us, saying that we lied to them, calling us us for pretending that we were a perfect couple. One friend even said that he had looked up to us as what a relationship should look like. I don't think Chase and I did anything wrong. We've never said that we were a couple, but Chase is kind of on the fence and feels like we should apologize. So, am I the asshole? Your friends haven't done anything wrong by thinking you were a couple. That's what it looks like. Living together for years, co-parenting, and not dating anyone else naturally leads people to that assumption. In some ways, it's kind of nice that your circle just accepted you as a couple, even if it was an erroneous assumption. Let it be a learning moment to not make assumptions about people's relationships. Am I the jerk if I want to ditch my friend with a chronic illness? I have a close friend that I've known for about 10 years. We met through a networking event and hit it off pretty quickly. Within a couple of years, we were calling ourselves best friends. About 6 years ago, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I've tried to provide a shoulder and a safe space for her to talk about it, but she has always preferred not to. She'll often talk about doctor's appointments, tests, and treatments, but never the mental toll it must be taking. When we go out, she hides her symptoms and pretends everything is fine. She mostly vents about her job, friends, or family issues when we get together. She'll go on for ages about her toxic parents, friends, and coworkers. It can be extremely tedious sometimes because there's just no end to her anger and negativity. Yet she keeps going back for more abuse, with a big fake smile on her face. 2 years ago, I moved to a smaller town about 1 hour away. She was disappointed, and I have made an effort to visit her regularly. She doesn't drive though, and she's just not a planner, so it's always on me to make plans. Over the last 6-8 months, she has been slowly reducing contact. I'm always the one to reach out. When I text her, she'll take up to a week to reply. We'll schedule a video call, and she just doesn't answer, replying the next day to say she was napping, without much of an apology. Now, we've always had an understanding between the two of us that it's totally okay to bail on plans if we're just not feeling up to it. A simple text is all that's needed, and nobody gets upset or angry. I know that her disease can be debilitating at times, and I totally understand that it can be unpredictable. She knows she just needs to say the word, and we can call off plans. No problem at all. So given that background, the lack of communication now feels intentional. She'll say she misses me terribly, but then she'll go for weeks without a peep, except to send random memes, which are often sappy ones about friendship. After years of listening to the way she talks about the other people in her life, I can recognize that the fakeness is now being directed at me. I know the mature thing to do would be to talk to her about it, but I don't think this relationship is important enough to me anymore to keep trying. If I stopped contacting her, I wonder how long it would be before I heard from her again. I don't want to be that horrible person that ditches their friend when they get sick, but I also think that if she wasn't sick, I would just accept that it has run its course, and I wouldn't think twice about walking away. Am I the asshole? You are not the jerk. Friendships sometimes come to an end, and it's clear she's already started the process. Ms. can take a heavy mental toll, affecting memory and exhausting those who suffer from it. It's possible she doesn't want her diagnosis to define her or to discuss her mental state. Showing her some grace might be the compassionate route, allowing the friendship to naturally fade if that's what's meant to happen. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my ex extra money for her other children? My ex-wife and I have a 9-year-old son together. We broke up when he was 1 after I found out she was cheating on me. Right after I left her, she told me she was pregnant and attempted to pass the baby off as mine. But I knew based on how far along she was that it couldn't be mine. She finally admitted that it wasn't mine. Her baby was stillborn at 7 months, and our already bitter divorce became even more strained. When she lost the baby, she tried to make me pay for the cremation. She even attempted to sue me for the money when I refused to contribute, but the case was dismissed. During the divorce proceedings, we had a DNA test done on our son which confirmed he was mine, and we agreed on shared custody. My ex has been in a few relationships since then and has had 3 more children. She recently remarried, and she's currently pregnant with her 5th child, but she's facing financial difficulties in her marriage. She sent me a lengthy email detailing her situation and asked me to provide extra money for 2 of her children who have upcoming birthdays and for whom she has no funds due to financial constraints. She also requested that I take our son shopping for gifts for them in addition to giving her money for the gifts. I informed her that I would not be fulfilling her request. My responsibility is to my son, not her other children. She argued that I should ensure that his family is cared for. I responded by stating that I already take care of my child by paying child support, even though we share custody equally, 50-50, because I have a higher income. However, I won't be financially supporting her other children from different relationships. She accused me of being heartless, claiming that I could easily afford it and more. She likened my refusal to when I didn't provide a lavish funeral for her stillborn child. Am I the jerk in this situation? I think you are not in the wrong here. It's unfortunate for your ex's other children because they're just kids, but you're under no obligation to provide for them. Since she's having issues providing for all of her kids, you can gladly take your son full-time, and she can have visitation. Actions have consequences, and she needs to be responsible for her own choices. Am I the jerk for being angry toward my friend for spending more time with another person? I am 18 years old, and my friend is 18 years old. I have known him for 3 years, and we have been pretty close. I was going through a tough period of constantly talking about my problems to him before I got better. I feel like our friendship is rocky at best. I want to call him and do things, but he doesn't. He will purposely ignore my calls. If I try to ask him to play some video games twice a day, he will reply with bro, fuck off, or it's not that deep. And whenever I get him on the phone with me, the only way we can talk is through video games. Other than that, we have no common interests. These past 5 days, I have felt really angry because he is playing with a new friend instead of me. He plays with this new friend all day, every day, while the most we play together is 3 hours per 2 weeks if I'm lucky. He's been playing with this new friend for 10 hours per day every day for the past 5 days. It's insulting to me that he's willing to put so much effort and excitement towards someone else, but then he treats me like I'm a bothersome fly. I have talked with him in the past about how I'm trying to improve, and I don't want him to act like how things were before. But every single time we have that talk, he tells me some hopeful words and improvements he will try, and then it goes back to normal after a week. I am constantly making hangouts and plans, but he does nothing. We didn't talk for a month, and he didn't even text me once, as if I didn't exist. I feel like I'm being needy, but I'm not sure. Please, Reddit, help me. I'm not entitled or looking for attention. I just want to know if I'm the problem. He told you he doesn't want to talk to you and no longer considers you a friend. Respect his boundaries and leave him alone. Take the hint, he doesn't owe you anything. It seems like you've used him as a dumping ground one too many times. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.